Hi everyone, it's Rena. So this video is if you have your sun in Aquarius and your moon in Capricorn. Now, the things that these two signs have in common are that they are adjacent to one another. So there can be personal planets easily in either one of these signs. If somebody has their sun sign in Aquarius or Capricorn, they can have it in the opposite sign. Well, it's not opposite, but in the adjacent sign. And the other thing is that Aquarius is co-ruled by Saturn, and that is the sole ruler of Capricorn. So right off the bat, I would say that this combination could create somebody who's an Aquarian and is more conservative, is more tending or trending towards the side of what Capricorn represents, which is being more traditional and being more concerned with career matters and things like that. It's very important to look at where the sun is in the chart. If the sun is, I don't know, in the 5th house, the person might be more playful, creative, and less, like I just said. It could balance it out, in other words. Or if it's in the 12th house, the sun, the person may be not as plugged into the world. And, Saturn rules the 10th house of career, and it's at the top of the chart. So it really does represent that public image. Or they say public reputation status. So looking at it from an emotional point of view, of course, we're going to look at the moon. But if somebody has a sun sign in, let's say, a water sign or even a fire sign, they're going to be more emotive, even though it's not the moon sign. And here you have very dry tendencies. The sun is in air and the moon is in earth. And especially the moon in Capricorn can be quite cold emotionally. And of course, Aquarius is known as being aloof. You have to look at the rising sign, because if the rising sign is in fire or air, the person can be more either communicative, maybe more superficially passionate, or if the rising sign is in water, they might be or appear more soulful, emotional, sensitive, that kind of thing. But the rising sign is not the core self necessarily. It is a component of the personality and even what I would call the core personality, but it's not the real core. It's more on the outer side of things. And that can fade also as a person gets older. They may show less of those signs, and it's not really who they are. So it's false advertising to some degree. And the truth is that you are a pretty detached individual, all things considered. And that can be a very good thing, because it can make it easier for you to succeed professionally, because you don't allow personal problems to get in the way. You can, be one of those people who just can hunker down and do what you need to do to achieve your career goals. However, it might take its toll on personal relationships and developing them at a deeper level. You may have an inherent fear of intimacy, because there's I think of this combination as somebody who might be, I don't know, the word guarded came into my mind, but I don't know if that is exactly how I would convey it. I think that Capricorn is a lot more sensitive than they appear. But in the moon position, it's going to express itself as a Capricorn. When I say more sensitive, I'm really talking about Sun and Capricorns. Moon and Capricorn are expressing themselves in this way, which is pretty no nonsense. And the moon can indicate the mother, so the mother may have been very ambitious for you and very, what's that term? I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of this term, like conditional love, conditional acceptance. There's some other term I'm thinking of. And that kind of thing, even a young child can sense this, I think, where it's like they only get love when they achieve. And if the person doesn't have enough awareness that this is happening, they can grow up to just embody that, and they will naturally, but unconsciously, be trying to achieve for acceptance, for love. And whether it's still for the parents, even when you're 30 or 40, or if it's for, just society. I want society to think I am successful because then I will get approval from society. They will think I'm a good person. But if I don't achieve, I won't be a good person. I won't be lovable, that kind of thing. Is that a good attitude? I would say not. So if you resemble those remarks, reflect on whether or not you think that the origin is what I said it was. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it certainly is worth trying to trace back where this all began. So, the Sun in Aquarius is very intelligent by virtue of being an air sign, which is associated with the intellect, great communication skills, coming from an intellectual orientation. So it's a no-brainer that you would choose some occupation that uses your mind. Of course, there are going to be Aquarians who engage in manual labor, who work with their hands. That's going to be always the case. Not everybody follows that line. But for those who are in academia, this could be you. With the moon in Capricorn, there is an emotional desire to rise in the ranks of life, or whatever we consider life or society, and that includes with work, this hierarchy. So it may favor the government, or it actually can be anything. If you work in education, let's say you work in an elementary school, and you are an educator, and then you say, I want to be the vice principal, and then I'm going to be the principal. So, thinking that being an administrator is higher on the food chain than being a teacher. That is the kind of thing that you use or go after for emotional fulfillment. So your career is providing you with that emotional fulfillment. Now that's tricky because obviously that is subject to change, especially nowadays with all the chaos, flux in life. You can't always guarantee that your ambitions will be rewarded with guarantees, themselves. And it's not on the spiritual level, it's not where it's at, because we have to acknowledge that everything is temporary and everything has its place. However, it can definitely spur you to, to be ambitious and to I don't know, like strive to be better. And I think that on that level, that is a type of spiritual quest, that we're always looking for expansion. Just don't make it about the material, because Earth in the moon position can be yearning for something, and it can be limited by wanting its tangible results. The moon is intuitive, and if everything that you want, it has to be experienced by the five senses, then you may not want anything beyond this world. And that would be kind of a limiting thing. I have the moon in Virgo, so I have the moon in Earth as well. And I'm just looking at it from the higher function of what the moon can represent. And I was going to say the higher function would be more the intuition, and the lower function would be the emotions. But when I say emotions, I'm talking about the type of emotions that make us think that we are not getting enough of what we need. Because if you can be alone and feel emotionally fulfilled, and you can be with a partner, maybe have a family, and still feel that you are emotionally deprived. So if that feels like you, if you have felt those kind of feelings, you may have a hard time giving emotions. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, or no, that's not it, a vicious circle. I'm not sure the proper terminology, but just that what you're doing yourself is creating more of the same. I would say it's more like a vicious circle, because, if you have children and you have some kind of a blockage when it comes to nurturing or being lovingly self-expressive, they may sense something is wrong with them, or, and they may feel unloved, and then they are hyper-focused on getting it for themselves, just like you are. And it creates another generation of that, and it doesn't give it to you, because people can only give love if they feel like they have it to give. It's just like with financial things, people tend not to give what they don't feel that they have. And so a generosity of spirit is something to cultivate for sure. I was going to say, if you do feel kind of lonely, look to see where your moon is at. It's in the 12th house. That's where I see a lot of people feeling very deprived. And maybe they did come from deprivation, but they take it into adulthood, and they're looking to get filled, but they're not filling other people. And so it really, it becomes very difficult to get that, because it's a one-way street. What was I going to say? A word that is used to describe the sun in Aquarius is aloof, meaning that the person tends to be detached from their social interactions. And they emphasize, well, Aquarians are friendly, but they're not necessarily that. It's like they always stay above the fray type of thing. And I've observed this, and that can be a good thing, because it can be very good for friendships where other people don't feel like they're being smothered by a friend, or, overly leaned on emotionally by that person. But because of the moon in Capricorn, this combination can be quite chilly, and you want to look at that aspect of yourself. Are you being too cold, and where and what is happening inside of you that is like that? Do you think that there is some kind of emotional blockage? One thing I always look at is the aspect between the moon and Venus, if it does make an aspect, and some people have a square, and this, especially in personal relationships, like romantic relationships, that can be that the person has trouble giving and receiving love. And look at the Venus sign too that you have for your love life, and Mars. So let's say you have Venus and or Mars in Sagittarius. You might be more adventurous, and with a partner, that's where your playfulness comes out. Maybe you like to hike with them, explore with them. If your Mars and or, this is a doozy. If your Venus is in Capricorn and you have Sun in Aquarius, then you could be very striving for a partner who, I was going to say completes you, but actually it is somebody who can lift you up into their level of societal rank. And so for the, usually if the person is a woman, they may marry up, you know what I mean? But a man can marry up too, don't get it twisted. And you may marry somebody who comes from a wealthy family. You may marry somebody who is wealthy in their own right. Am I accusing you of being a gold digger? No. Well, maybe kind of, sort of. Not really, but it's really more than just money per se. A mobster can have money, but you might not want that type of lifestyle because you don't think that they are well regarded in society. Unless you live in certain areas of the country, I guess. Like I'm from the Chicago area, so we have Al Capone and all of those guys, and all these reminders of all these mobsters, famous mobsters in our area. Actually, I have some in my immediate area that, famous from the past. I don't hear about mobsters too much these days. But in any case, there's a tendency to want that type of partner who's very successful, or who has the potential to be. Because let's face it, sometimes you're marrying somebody in your 20s and that person hasn't fulfilled their they haven't gotten to that level of success yet, but you sense it. You say, what are the chances? Does this person have good potential? That's what they always used to say, and that's what you would go on. And to me, that is a little bit problematic because you don't want to be scheming. You don't want to just look at a partner on that level. And so you've got both the moon and Venus in the same sign like that. In Capricorn, it can be very pragmatic. However, on the plus side, if that person is like you, if you're on the same page, you might build an empire together. And I think that sometimes it just is the way a person is wired. And they are looking for somebody that they can build a strong foundation with. So it's not necessarily just some crass, I'm using this person for their money thing. So anyway, I think that's, and what I wanted to say about that is if you do have Venus in Capricorn and it's close enough in degrees to the moon, then you have a conjunction between the moon and Venus, and that will make you more romantic for sure, even though it's in Capricorn. And it's possible that you have Venus in Pisces. Venus can't be too far from the sun but sometimes a person has a late degree Capricorn, maybe an early degree Venus and Pisces, and then you will have that. And that will, it can complicate it sometimes, because you might find that you have a tendency to be to pick the wrong person, to look at, to pity the people that you love, or confuse love and pity. You might try to save your partners instead of having an equal partnership. Or it could just be the Venus is exalted in Pisces. It might be just this unconditional love that is very idealistic and spiritual. So, yeah, and I talked about professions that you might favor. Also, like being a scientist, I think could be a big one, with the earth element and the air element together. And I think I'm going to leave it there. I hope that this resonated. And if you would like a private reading, the link is below. I'm at RainaMoonAstrology.com. Take care. Bye.